It's another session of the Business Renovator. I'm Coach Phil, aka Phil Jilks. What I'm excited about today is I want to talk about something that I was made aware of in the late 70s by one of my mentors, Leland Val Vanderwall. He's no longer with us and really hard to find any of his content because he was pre-internet. There's a little bit here and there, but very little. So let me get started with a quote from my buddy Brian Monahan's book. And the book is right there, Customer Delight 365. So the idea behind this book is Brian has a quote for every day. And you can read, if you get a copy of this book, he's gotten a couple of ideas and recommendations on how to get the most out of the book. What I've chosen to do is I pick a quote that resonates with me at the time that I'm doing these lives, for example, and goes from there. So this one's really short and succinct. I'm not sure who the Joe Clark is that this quote is. We had a prime minister in Canada by that name, and I know some other Joe Clarks, but I don't think it's any one of those. Anyway, let's get right into it. Defeat is not bitter unless you swallow it. Think about that. Defeat is not bitter unless you swallow it. So another way to look at that is whatever we give sanction to is what's going to show up. So if you swallow it, or if you sanction the negativity, it's going to have a larger impact on yourself. The same is true on the flip side of that, is if you think about success versus defeat, or if you think about the ideal end result or the solution to the problem more than you think about the problem, guess what is going to happen? T. Harv Eker had a quote, or has a quote, and it's basically where the mind goes, energy flows, and results show. So if you look at your results that you're getting and you're not happy with them, maybe what you're thinking about isn't doing you a good service. Perhaps looking at your ideal situation, even though you may not know how to do it, what if you're to think about achieving it? Well, I'm telling you from experience, it's a very powerful way. Earl Nightingale, in his wisdom and his strangest secret program, talks about we become what we think about most of the time. What are you thinking about on a consistent basis with a lot of emotion? Are you worried or are you concerned? There's a subtle difference between the two. Worry has also been touted as being a form of negative goal setting. So if you're getting things in your life that you don't want to show up, assess what's going on in your mind. One way to do that would be to create a reflexive thinking journal where you capture all of your thoughts, good, bad, and different. And if you did that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and took time to reflect back over the days and weeks and months that you collect, you'll notice there's a trend in what you're doing and what you're saying. It'll give you some insights as to what you can do to change, which is really kind of what the topic is today. Repetition, repetition, repetition. I want to finish Brian's quote here, his take on that particular quote. Defeat is like wearing a blindfold in a rose garden. If you believe your eyes, you might think you're in the black hole of despair, but the rose garden is still there, even though you can't see it. Success in life and in business is often right in front of us, but it's shaded by our own doubt, insecurities, and poor attitude. Next time you're faced with a challenging customer or event or goal that you can't get to, ask yourself, will I accept defeat or will I take off my blindfold and see delight? Defeat is always a choice. Delight is always a choice. Well said, my friend. Well said. Also, one of my other mentors suggests that we act, or we how does it go now? I have this memorized just because I want to share it today. I guess I need to do some more repetition. We do not see the world as the way it is, but rather how we perceive it to be. That's not quite it, but you get the gist of it. Anyway, welcome. Good morning. good afternoon, good evening. And if you're watching this live, that's great. Make a comment. I'll come back to you a little bit later on today. And if you like this, for what you're seeing, and you think it's of value, if you could share it out for me, tell other people about it. And if you've got a question or comment that you would like to have addressed today, put it in the chat. Excuse me, or here, or on Facebook, or on YouTube or Twitter, wherever you happen to see this. If it's not live today, I will respond to it when I get it showing up in the social media. Anyway, I'm excited to be here to talk about something that I think we forget to do, and that is repetition, repetition, repetition. If you think about the things that you've done in your life, from learning how to ride a bicycle, driving a car, learning to write, learning to keyboard, learning to read, all of those things didn't happen with just one attempt. It required multiple attempts. Some people are excited about reading the newest and latest and greatest book, perceived by others, and that's fantastic. What ends up happening, though, is if they do read the book, they may read it once and they put it on the shelf, and that's it, and never go back to revisit it. I do that too. There's some books that I don't feel are worthy enough for my time, because we only have so much time to go back and read it and repeat it. However, I do have several books that I do devour on a consistent basis. And it's not like I spend hours reading these books, but 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour on a daily basis. And what I'm finding is, with the constant spaced repetition, things change. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be books you read. It could be audibles you look at, watch, or maybe there's a YouTube video. Maybe there's an online training program that you purchased. Watching it once is great, but how do you internalize it? I think you internalize it by going back and watching it again and making your notes, and then taking time out to see yourself at your future best with the information and the content that you gleaned from whatever modality you were using. Books, video, audio, doesn't matter. It's all good stuff. But the key is repetition. Like, for example, if you were to do push-ups once a month, not much would change. But if you want it to be stronger on a consistent basis, the solution to that is to do repetitive practices. And it doesn't matter what you want to do in life. So that's really what I wanted to talk about today. We can get the things that we want to do ingrained into our subconscious mind. The simplest and easiest way to do that is constant spaced repetition. Again, it comes from a mentor of mine. And he said the other way that change happens, and this is another way, and that is by sudden impact. And the sudden impact approach is, sometimes we may not think it's in our control, or that we had nothing to do with it, and it was somebody else's issue. So getting fired, getting laid off, a relationship breakup, not having enough money, losing money, all those kind of things, which takes me on to another concept that we can talk about it in a deeper dive on another live stream, and that is about being a victor or a victim. And I know most of the people that I hang out with most of the time are victors, which means they're proactive. They take charge. They own it. Even if they didn't absolutely cause it to happen, they look at the situation as an opportunity and or a challenge to break through whatever's showing up in their life. So change your health, like a heart attack, you could say that's not your fault. You did everything right. That may or may not be true, but that doesn't help you move from the situation in a very favorable way. What I would encourage you to do is to own it. Okay, this happened. What can I do differently? And I know some people who have had heart attacks have maybe not lived the best, ideal, healthiest life. So maybe they had something to do with it. And maybe some of it's hereditary. But again, going back to owning it and taking responsibility for it. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And if you have watched me on earlier live streams doing these videos. I'm much better than I was 9, 10 months ago, but there is room for improvement. Before, I used to not pay so much attention to where I was looking and what I was talking about. So one of my goals for this year is to be here for you who are watching the camera lens rather than looking at the audience that I have in here. And here's the difference. Here's me looking at the camera. So I'm hoping you see me looking at you. That's my intention. And even when I do this to find something else and I'm looking at something, I really am still interested in you, but the perception is I'm not looking at you. And I've had this advice given to me unsolicited by two wonderful gentlemen that specialize in doing live streams and videos specifically. And they've both done it for, if I was to add their time up together, I think combined they've got about 60 years experience in doing video work, live and some film work as well, like movie films. So I'm going to try, no, I'm not going to try nothing because as Yoda says, there's only do not try. So I'm working diligently to be more efficient, more effective, and more impactful so that when you're here investing your valuable time listening to what I say or on the replay, you feel the sincerity I'm attempting to bring across. So repetition, repetition, repetition. By the way, I haven't got the date figured out yet, but within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to do something where I get to practice and practice and practice. And it's a way to grow my audience and serve more people and allow you an opportunity to get to know me a little bit better, see what my approach to coaching and training is. And I'm going to be doing a 5-day challenge via Facebook and on the topic of attraction marketing. So if you're looking for ways to attract more people into your world, whether you're selling a product, an idea, or looking for people to join your community for whatever reason, and you want to attract them leveraging social media, keep your eyes and ears open for the specifics about that. If you're interested in wanting to know more, message me or send me an email. Email's right above here. It's phil@coachphil.ca. In the subject line, just put 5-day challenge, traction marketing, something along that line. And I'll make sure that I send an invite to you. So I want to see who's here supporting me by being here physically in a virtual sort of way. Let's pop over to there and say hi to whoever's here. Look at that. Ron Goodwin, Tim Lord. I'm going to put you up, guys, just so other people see that you're here. Hey, Ron Goodwin, we need to have a virtual coffee in the next little bit, maybe today or maybe next week sometime. My schedule's starting to get really crammed. It's going to be the most amazing year ever. How do I know that? Well, already we're just barely into the third week of January, I think. And the verbal commitments I have for what I do is more than I've had in any year. So I'm really excited that people are putting their trust in what I do to be able to help them and provide massive value for them. I'm really looking forward to it. Tim, now this guy, if you want to, if you're looking to communicate and get your brand out there in a creative, effective way in a whole bunch of different formats, from print to, I think, vinyl to videos, he's got a great group of resources, and he's done some pretty cool, innovative sort of things. So if you're looking for ways to tell your story using like an agency approach, might want to check out Tim Lord. I would. Oh, look at that. There's Ron again. Worry is preparing a debt that may never come true. Worry is prepaying a debt that may never come true. I've never heard that before, but I like that. Yeah, I also think it's a negative goal setting, but I'm gonna leverage that. I think that's pretty cool. Worry is preparing a debt that never may come due. So yeah, quite often what we worry about never actually comes about. It just provides stress and anxiety and unnecessarily. So if you think if you have worry thoughts, work yourself to become concerned. Then you're proactive with that. Great bit of information there, Ron. Appreciate that. So that's it for today. I'm at about the 15-minute mark, And just wanted to pop in and talk about repetition, 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 no matter what it is you're doing, whether it's health and fitness topic or relationships, career, vocation, and or uh, financial investments, those sort of things. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Hey, have a wonderful day. And I spell it a little bit differently. I spell it with a U because you are absolutely wonderful.